Hello friends, welcome to my channel. So from today we will see a math function available in PHP. Here list of math function available in PHP. Most of math function we will see in our previous two sessions and remaining math function we will see in this session with syntax and small example. So here our first math function is DECBIN. So this function is convert your decimal number to your binary number. Here DEC that means decimal and BIN that means binary. So here is the syntax. Here DECBIN function require one parameter. This is your decimal number and after executing this function it will give a binary number. Here is the example. Here DECBIN function we will pass 3. So here 3 decimal number equivalent binary is 111. So output is 111. Here we will pass 7. So your binary number is 311. So this function is converted your decimal number to your binary number. So your output is give your binary number. So our next function is DECHEX. That means DEC that means decimal and HEX that means hexadecimal. So this function is converted your decimal number to hexadecimal number. Here is the syntax. Here DECHEX function require one parameter. This is your decimal number and after executing this is converted to hexadecimal number. Here we will create one table. Here list of decimal function and here equivalent your hex number. So here 10 is your decimal number and after converting it will give a. So a is your hexadecimal number that is equivalent to your 10. Here we will pass 11. So 11 is your decimal number and hex number is b. So b is that means decimal is 11. So here is the example. Here we will pass 10. So 10 is your decimal number. After converting it will give a. Here we will pass 11. So here 11 is your decimal number. So it hexadecimal number is b. Here our next function is HEXDEC. That means hexadecimal to decimal. This function is converted your hexadecimal number to your decimal number. Here is the syntax. Here HEXDEC function require one parameter that is your hexadecimal number or hexadecimal string. After executing this function it will give a decimal number. Here is the example. Here we will pass a. So your hexadecimal number a is converted to decimal number that means it give 10. Here you can see here hexadecimal is a. So equivalent decimal is 10. Here we will pass d that means equivalent decimal number that is give a 30. Here we will pass e that means e is your hexadecimal number. It will convert it to your decimal number that means it will give a 40. Here our next function is finite function. This function is check whether your value is finite or not. Here how we can say our value is finite or not. The solution is that our value is finite. That means our value is within your float range on your PHP platform. So that means your value is finite value. Here is the syntax. Here is finite function require one value. After executing this function is return a boolean value. Here this function is written true or 1 that means your specific value is finite value. Here this function is written false or nothing that means your value is not a finite value. Here is the example. Here we will pass 2 that means our value is finite that means it give a 1. Here we will pass 20000 that means our value is finite. So it will give a 1. Here our next function is infinite function. This function is check our value is infinite or not. Here how we can say our value is infinite. So the solution is that the value is infinite if it is your outside the range of float. So that means that value is your infinite value. Here is the syntax. Here is infinite function require one parameter value. After executing this function, it will return a boolean value. Here boolean value, that means true or false. Here this function is written true, that means your value is infinite value. Here this function is written false, that means this value is not infinite value. Here this function is also written 1 or 0. Here this function is written 1, that means your value is infinite, and otherwise it will return a 0. Here is the example. Here we will pass log 0, that means that is not a within your float range, so it will give a 1, that means your value is not a, that means your value is infinite value, that is not a in your float range. Here our next function is log function. This function is written natural logarithm value. Here we can also return a logarithm of your number base. Here this function require one parameter, number and base. Here number is requirement field, that is specify the value to be calculate a logarithm, and here your base is optional field, this is a logarithm base. Here we will not pass, that means your default is e. Here is the example. Here we will pass 2. So log 2 value is 0.693 up to 95. Here we will pass 1, that means log 1 value is 0. So here our next function is base underscore convert. This function is converted your number to a one base to another base. Here we will pass 3 parameter. First is number, second is from base, and last is to base. So this all field are a required field. Here first is your number that we want to convert from one base to another base. Here is our from base. So from base is your original base, and last is to base. This base we want to convert it our from base. So here is the example. Here we will pass 3 parameter, 2, 10 and 2. So 2 is your number, 10 is your decimal number base, and 2 is your binary number base. So that means here our 2 is converted our decimal to binary. So here 2 is your decimal number and that is converted to binary number. So binary number value is 10 and 10, or we can say 1 and 0. So your output is 1 and 0. Here second example, base convert function, we will pass 1, 5, and we will pass our base is 10 and our to base is 16. So your decimal number is converted to hex number. So here 15 is your value, your decimal number, and that we want to convert it to our hex number. So output is F. Here our value is 111. This is your binary value. So we will convert it to our decimal number. So here 111 is your binary value that we want to convert it to our decimal number. So your output is your 7. So output is 7. Here our next function is DEG to RAND. That means this function is convert DEG, that means degree, and RAND to, that means radian. So this function is convert your degree to value to a radian value. Here is the syntax. Here this function require one parameter number. This is your degree. So degree is converted to radian. So after executing this function, it will give a float value. Here is the example. Here we will pass 45. So it will give a radian value 0.7853 up to 45. Here we will pass 180. So your radian value is 3.14 up to 98. So ultimately this function is convert your degree to radian value. Here we will pass 360. So your output is 6.28 up to 96. So thank you everyone. I hope you have understand remaining math function. Thank you.